Making videos is bizarre. Am I actually gonna drink this tea while I make this video, or is it just gonna get cold? Hi everyone, this is Tina with Overall Adventures. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about how to find the right notebook size for your journaling practice. So we're going to talk about it in 3 different ways to try to help you narrow down what size might work best for you. So the first part of this video is going to focus on the actual journaling sizes that are mostly or easily available that you can find. The second bit is going to be questions that I've developed to help you kind of hone in which of those sizes might be the best fit for you. And then the third bit is going to be just me chatting just a little bit about my experience with over 14 years of journaling, with how, like, which sizes I've used and like what I've gravitated towards at different points in my life and why. So let's get into it. Size matters. There's so many different sizes. What we've got here is we've got the journaling sizes that you could find most easily online or in a store. And there are quite a few options. You will definitely notice this size. It's called like the Moleskine XL here, or also just composition notebook size. So I have written in these before. These are your standard, you've seen this, your standard just like composition notebook. This is the Moleskine here XL. Kahir. And yeah, massive notebooks. This is one of the bigger sizes you could get. There are bigger, but I would say this is your kind of average large journal. That's the Moleskine. Then the next size we got is A5, which is super standard. If you're a bullet journaler, you're gonna know the Leuchtturms. And so this is like your standard A5 size. So in comparison to our composition notebook, it's significantly smaller. I like A5 because it's very square. The pages aren't so rectangular. And this to me is just, this was one of the first sizes that I used. So to me, this is like the standard notebook size. But this is the Moleskine kind of version of the A5. So as you can see, it's just a little bit more narrow. This is the only size of this notebook that I have in my entire collection of like 70 plus journals. I really don't like this size. And same with the next one down, which is standard, which is even narrower. So it's the same height, just a little bit narrower. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of these narrow guys. I have nothing in this standard size. I do not own a notebook that is like this narrow and tall. I'm not a rectangle girl. I'm square, I guess. And the next size down we have is B6. So let me find my B6. The B6 is just as wide as the traditional Moleskine size. It's just a little shorter. And compared to an A5, it's actually the same dimensions or the same ratio. See math. Ratio, it's just smaller. So it has that same square feel. I adore the B6 size. The tricky part for me with B6 is it's not as easy to find in a store, I find, than online. Then the next size down we have after B6 is B6 Slim. So if we're looking at this on here, again, same height, just a little bit more narrow. I have no B6 Slims in my collection. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a rectangle girl, just not. Signature. Again, same of this weird narrow width that I don't like. It's just like a little bit shorter on top. So I'm not about that. Next we have A6, and that is actually my current journal. I've never written in an A6 before this past few months. So this is A6 and a B6. Again, same ratio here that we're talking about with the A5, B6, and A6. The A6 is very square as well. It kind of has the same, again, proportions, just smaller. And it has that kind of really boxy, almost a square, definitely still a rectangle, but almost more of a square. And then we've got field notes or pocket size, which I also have. So to see the pocket up against the A6, looks like that. So it is a little shorter and it's definitely a little narrower as well. I would say this is more of a rectangle, I guess, but for some reason this doesn't annoy me as much as like standard size does. And then the tiniest little size we have is Passport. I don't own any Passport, but just to see it in comparison, it's basically the same width as Pocket, just a little bit shorter. So I don't own any of this size. This is super tiny, super, super small. Totally cute, but it's just, yeah, I just don't happen to own any of those. So thank you, Luke, for making all those for us because that was really useful. So now that you kind of see the breadth of sizes that you have as an option, I've developed a bunch of questions to help you try to hone in exactly like what size would be right for you. And my first question is really, how long have you been journaling for? If you are a total journaling newbie, welcome, awesome. I actually don't recommend a massive notebook, like a composition notebook, personally. I think the amount of space you have to work with here is just, it takes a lot of time, a lot of writing to fill up a page, let alone fill up the entire notebook. If you are totally new, I definitely recommend going with something smaller like Pocket, B6, or A6. I do think the smaller sizes give you the satisfaction of finishing a journal sooner, which will in turn kind of hopefully continue to motivate you to keep writing. Chances are, if you've been journaling for a while, you've already switched up sizes. So it might just be good if you've been journaling for a long time just to try something totally opposite in your realm. My second question is, what will you be using it for? Do you intend to write solely? Do you intend to draw? Do you intend to put some paint in there, some watercolor? Do you intend to have collage and a lot of pictures and images? If you're gonna go with kind of a more art journal style, you might want more space, right? You might want that big composition or A5 size. But if you are, just starting out again and looking for primarily writing, again, a smaller size might be a better fit. My third question is, how portable do you need this journal? At one point in my life, I really liked the big composition notebook styles, especially when I was in high school, because I felt like it was more discreet in a sense, which sounds odd, but I liked that it blended in with my schoolwork. It was easier to kind of just like throw in my bag and like take with me wherever I went. But the older that I've got, and I didn't necessarily have a backpack and take that to work, this felt bulky. So as I've gotten older, I've noticed that I've gone down and down and down. I find A5 is like a really good standard kind of place to start. It is portable. You can put it in your bag and take it with you. But depending on how portable you're going, like, are we traveling here? Like, are we going around the world? Which I've done, and I've done in composition, and I've done in tiny sizes. And I found that when I was traveling, Pocket was my favorite size to travel with, just because it's so easy, so small. However, if you're gonna do traveling and wanna do more like collage and like pasting things in, it is pretty small to do that. So maybe a B6 would be a better option. As you can see, I'm just like plugging my own favorite journals, or journal sizes. So, and then it takes me to the next one, which is, are you left-handed? I'm left-handed, and here's why I'm gonna explain it. Okay, this is why a notebook like this, like super narrow, like this and this, like what, these like thin rectangles. What is this? Like, how do you turn the page? And I think it's because I hate on this because I think I'm a lefty. So for me, like writing this way, I'm constantly having to come back to the seam of the notebook and like pressing the notebook open so that I can like use the most of this page. If you're a lefty, my advice would be to probably just go with something a little bit wider and more square. Which takes me to the next point, which is, what are like the more square size notebooks? In my opinion, the more square sizes would be A5, B6, and A6. It's like, where is the A6? It's my journal right now. These are the more square ones. So if you're a lefty, or if you're looking for something that's, not so narrow, this would probably be a better fit. If you're interested in more of a narrow size, I would probably go towards something like moleskine size. You could do standard size. You could do B6 slim. You could do a signature size and a pocket size. See, there are a lot of like narrower notebooks, I'm just saying. So now that takes me to just the last part of this video where I just wanted to chat a little bit about my experience with different sizes and what has kind of worked for me over the years, over the many years of journaling. I think I want to just start with, I had this initial vision as like when I was a newer journaler of, wouldn't it be great if all my notebooks fit on the same shelf and like looked exactly the same and were just like variations of like in color, but everything was like the same size? Like, wouldn't that look so cool? Yeah, I agree. I think that would look really cool. Could I do it? No. Why? Because it's boring for me after a while. I think a lot of my life, I was probably in the most, would be A5 hardcover. That's probably the size I'm in the most. Definitely I did a lot of composition notebooks earlier on, and just loved those. But the older that I've gotten, the more I've journaled, the smaller I've gotten. And I remember years ago watching videos like, why are people like these like pocket size, like these tiny notebooks? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, they're so small. And same with the B6s, like, I don't know, like they just seemed so small to me. But when I moved from an A5 to a B6, I just loved it. Like, I felt the satisfaction of filling up journals quicker. And then from there, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm already in a smaller size. Let's go smaller. Let's go pocket. And that was great. I filled up, I think, 4 or 5 of these like very quickly, and that felt so nice. Like, oh, I'm journaling. This was great actually when I was teaching full time, and I was so bummed that I couldn't journal as often and for as long as I used to. So this was nice because I could take it with me to work, just like throw it in my bag and like have just little moments throughout the day captured, which was really nice. But over time, like it was a tight squeeze. I have big handwriting. I use a bold nib now in fountain pens. So there's a lot like crammed in here. So after a certain point, it was like, okay, you know what? Like, maybe I should go a little bit bigger. And I kind of found this sweet spot right now with A6, which I'm really digging. I get the kind of satisfaction. This guy is super chunky, but I get the satisfaction of, filling up some pages, but I have a little bit more room, which is nice, which I really do enjoy. So where will I go with notebook sizes? No one knows. I do think I'm going to stick in this A6 size for a bit because this is only my first one and I'm really digging it so far. But change is part of the fun, right? So who knows? Before you go out and buy a bunch of different notebook sizes and I don't know, maybe make some, maybe make some cardboard for yourself. That might be, I don't know, you could just tell from the size, like how it feels. And you can even like, if you use just like a piece of paper, you could just like actually do a couple little sample writing pages and see like, what does it feel to write on this versus like this size? And how does that impact me? So how does that impact my practice or things like that? So I hope that was helpful. Admittedly, I'm in like a mood today, so I hope it shows. But thank you so much for joining me, and I really, let me know below what size notebook are you writing in right now. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Peace.